to another Gladwin Magic Place Q&A. I'm going to be your host, Alex Borton. Today we have with us the amazing Andi Gladwin from Vanishing Inc. Hello, Andi. Woo! Hey, Andi.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very good, thank you. That's the coolest intro music I've ever had, so I'm happy.
You can thank one of our video editors, Danny, for that one. He came up with that recently, so we've started to try to make this a little bit more professional, you know what I'm saying?
Well, he did a great job. Good work.
Absolutely. All right, well, as everybody starts tuning in and whatnot, something I always like to ask the guests is, for those of you who may not know who you are you and why are you sitting in front of me today?
That's a very good question. I can't tell you why, but I'll tell you who I am. Let's do that. So, I am a guy who has the best job in the world. I really think that because I get to do so many different things within magic. My entire life is magic. So right now I'm sat in my office, and that kind of sums up, you know, this office sums up everything I do in my job. So I'm sat at my practice table right now, and you can see behind me all of my books. And I spend most of my life sat here working on new material. Pretty much everything I create goes into my performance repertoire, and of course the other way around as well. Pretty much everything in my repertoire is something that I've created. So I love to create magic, and you can see I always have a deck of cards in my hand. And then as we go further back into my office, we have my desk where I work. You know, essentially I have a day job within magic, which is to run Vanishing Inc., which I do with my best friend, Joshua J. And at the same time I also write a column for Genie magazine, a Magic Hana column. So it's my job to bring you tricks every single month, which can be quite a time-consuming and stressful job, but I absolutely love it. So basically everything I do is magic. I perform magic, I write magic, I publish magic, I create magic, and I lecture on it. So that's the overview. Basically, I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Absolutely, you are. That's the dream, man. For especially that's in my head where I wanted to be with this was not just being the performer, was being the businessman and being, because I come from a business background as it is. That being said, you mentioned Vanishing Inc., and that leads really well into one of our first questions from Sam Pandya. He said, "How did you?" It says, "How did you thought?" I'm going to paraphrase this. How do you think? What made you think of making the magic shop and having, or what created having the top ranking website in the magic world? That one was a little bit harder to read.
Okay, well, I'll answer the question that I think he wants me to answer.
Right.
So if not, right back, and then we can clarify. So how did Vanishing Inc. get started is the first part of that question, and the answer is it was a dream. It was just what I always wanted to do, and Joshua J was staying with me. I used to have a job in London when I had a real day job, but I used to go back home on the weekends, and Josh was on a lecture tour in the UK, so he was staying with me quite a bit because I lived in two different parts of the country, which made it perfect for somebody traveling up and down the country lecturing. So we spent a lot of time together. We were very good friends then, but since we've become best friends, and we spent a lot of time together during those 2 months of his lecture tour. And of course, like you did, we were talking about our dreams in magic, and we both had the same dream. We both wanted to own a magic shop, but it wasn't really viable back then. This was 6 years ago, and it was right at the point where the brick-and-mortar shops were starting to close down. So we couldn't own a physical magic shop. It didn't really feel right. It would be essentially a bad business move, I think. So instead, we decided to try and bring the physical magic shop feel. You know, when you used to go into a magic shop and there would be kind of the old guy there giving you tips and ideas and showing you tricks. We wanted to bring that feel online. So that's exactly what we did. It took us about a year to put it together, and we just had so much fun doing it. We were, in our eyes, kind of paving the way, you know, setting up a different style of magic shop. We curated the tricks that we really, you know, that we published and included on the site. So most magic shops stock about 10,000 items. In our first year, we stocked 200 items. We just wanted to stock the very best. And then the more tricks we started to find out about and realize were good, we added, and we're constantly adding. Every day now we add something, but it's all tried and tested by us or our team or our friends. So everything we put on the site is stuff that we truly recommend, and I think other magicians should kind of learn and look at. As to the second part of the question, how is it one of the top-ranking magic shops? I mean, that only comes down to one thing, and it's hard work. And that hard work can be broken down into many different answers, of course, but we work very hard to only bring the best magic that we can. We really put our passion into everything we do within Vanishing Inc. I mean, both Josh and myself and our entire team work crazy hours. You know, it's hard to kind of see the behind the scenes of a website, but you know, every day we're up 8 a.m. Josh tends to sleep in a bit longer than that, but we'll let him off because he stays up later than me. 8 a.m. until, you know, last night I was up until 2 a.m. So that's a long time, pretty much working non-stop. But we love what we do, and we just think, at least I think, that the only way to be successful in any form of industry, any form of talent, skill, craft, is just to put in more work than anybody else ever would, and that's what we do.
Absolutely, that was something I've always been told is you want to be successful, you work harder than the next guy. I don't care who the next guy is, and I don't care how hard he's working, but you work harder than him. And I like what you said about the online magic shops. That was something that, unfortunately for me, because I've only started performing and really learning in the last few years, I didn't have the luxury of having a magic shop. The magic shop here in Arizona, the brick and mortar, the one that was here, now there's another one, but the one that was here was a small little booth in the back of a costume shop. And that was about it. They didn't have a magician on hand, and they had really just kind of, okay, so people might buy this, let's throw it on a shelf. And that was that really bugged me, and I was really happy to be a part of this whole Believe in Magic place, because that was kind of the idea I wanted to start when we founded this, was I'd like to try to take that brick and mortar environment and bring it to the online space. So when you said that, that just resonated with me so strongly.
It's what we need. You know, the internet is a big anonymous place where we could do anything, say anything. But if we create a community of magicians, then that's a much better place. So, you know, that's what Vanishing Inc tries to do, and we're there constantly. We reply to emails in the most honest way possible. If you email us and say, "Is this trick bad?" we will tell you our honest opinion. We won't just try and sell you the trick. We'll find out what you're going to use it for, what kind of skill level you are, and we'll try and help you give honest opinions in those tricks, which I think is maybe a rare, maybe completely unique as far as Magic Shop goes. So, yeah, Vanishing Inc is just all about creating better magicians and providing somewhere where they can really get the good stuff from.
Absolutely. There's a few performers I've spoke to recently that are much more concerned with people being happy with the product than they are with the product, and I think that that's a really good move. I think something happened with when we first got that whole online surge with just the online marketplace in general, where we moved into a spot where commerce was more important. It's your word over mine anyway. If you can't use it, that's not my fault. There's a few guys I've talked to recently, like Jason Poulter, Roger Nico. These are just guys who are like, hey, I will show you what the gimmick is or what the thing is, so you can see it all for yourself. Ad copies can be deceiving. Like, I'd like you to know that you're getting something quality that you're going to use.
I totally agree with that. And, you know, often we'll rewrite the ad copy. If it's deceiving, then we don't want it on our website. So if we believe in the product, but the ad copy is not so good, we'll rewrite it, or we'll film a video showing exactly what it is. So, yeah, we try and be the good guys of the Magic Shop, basically. And back to the question, you know, how have we become one of the biggest? Well, that was never our aim. We just wanted to be the best. And, you know, there's a marketer who I'm a big fan of. His name is Seth Godin, who I'm sure many viewers would have heard of in some way or another. He used to be the vice president of Yahoo, so he knows what he's talking about. And his entire advice, you know, if you take all of his books, condense it down to one sentence, it's simply this: be the absolute best you can be, and then you'll grow and become the biggest. So that's what we kind of accidentally did, I guess. We just tried to be the best, and over the years we've just grown and grown and grown.
Well, and you don't get, I think that the whole working hard and being the best, those phrasing, those sentences, or those ideas are really kind of parallel things, almost one and the same, because they kind of beget one another. If you want to be the best, you're going to work regardless of what you want to do, whether you're practicing, whether you're growing a magic shop, whether you're actually performing. You're going to obsess over it. You work hard, and that was something I learned. It was Jeff Sheridan. What was it? It's the Jeff Sheridan course in card manipulation. He said, there is no mastery without obsession, and I feel that that's true in business as well as in performance.
Exactly, and you know what I'm saying? I'm kind of deliberately being quite vague about it because I believe everything I've just said about Vanishing Inc. applies to every single performance and everything you do. So I'm saying this not just as somebody who happens to own a magic shop, because that's a small part of what I do. I'm saying this as a performer who can give this advice as basically, if you want to be the best, you've got to be the most dedicated, you've got to be the most passionate, you've got to care what you do. I mean, that comes first. And once you become the best, then that's when the cool things start to happen.
Absolutely, and it's nice to be involved in that process for other people. I'll be perfectly honest. I know tons of guys that are a lot better than me, tons of them. And it's nice to, even if I can help anybody, even better or worse than me, if I can help anybody at all, it really just it makes me happy. And I'm glad that they are using the knowledge that I had. They wanted that knowledge, and they're finding value in it enough to put to good use.
Well, people talk about, and this started as one of those things you kind of just read on the internet, which is that you're the sum of your 5 best friends. And actually, it turns out that's pretty much proven to be true. So, if you surround yourself with people who are better than you, then you're doing the right thing in my eyes. And that's definitely what I do. I learn so much from my friends, and I have so many friends at Magic that I'm constantly texting, emailing, calling, Skyping, meeting up with to take bits of advice from them. And that's what I try. And just basically, I see my friends as not only just friends, but kind of team as well. They're a team that can help me improve, and we all help each other, and it's so useful.
Well, and that seems to be the constant resonating tagline that we try to have here. Is as much as we do have somewhat of a competing market here, and there's so many things, we're going to have different opinions. We're a big community. We're a family first. And family might fight, but family first is kind of the important thing there. You look above the idea of what you think and see that other people have opinions, and that's really nice when you can surround yourself with people like that. Not to get too far off track, you kind of touched on this in the beginning, and it was another question that popped up. Kind of moving back to Vanishing Inc. Sam also asked. How does what's the process for selecting an effect or a trick on Vanishing Inc? You said it was somewhat selective. Is there a specific process you have?
There is, and maybe this is better that I answer this in the question of, let's say somebody comes to me with a trick and wants to know whether we'll release it for them. I think that would be more helpful to people, because I know so many of people viewing this and so many people in Magic want to release their own trick. So I'll answer it that way. And by the way, just to give you an idea how many people want to release their own trick, we get between 6 and 10 submissions a day from people who want us to produce a trick for them. And that's not even including the number of emails I get of videos of people who want to put tricks in my Genie column. So we know there's a lot of people out there who want to do that. So what do we look for? Well, first of all, it has to be genuinely worked in, genuinely performed. Here's the number one way to destroy your chances of getting a trick released is this sentence that I see several times a day. Here's a trick I just came up with. That's no use to me whatsoever. It's of no use to you either. Essentially, ideas are nothing in my mind. The idea is the easy part. Taking it through and removing all of the problems and stripping it there. The best tricks are the ones where everything has been removed. It's just like design. Design is where you take away, not add. So that's the first thing. I'm releasing tricks now. The Master Push-Off, which is one of my kind of more well-known items. I came up with that when I was a kid. I'm 31 years old now. I probably came up with it when I was 14, maybe 15, and that's how long I think you need to wait. So we don't even consider a trick unless we can be sure it's been performed hundreds and hundreds of times. And that's is essentially the main barometer. You can really tell a good trick when it's been performed so much. But also we need to know, is it original? You see all these books behind me. I spend loads of time reading books, and the history of magic is very important to me. So it has to be an original trick. And I don't just mean a variation of another trick. Often that's not enough. It needs to be a really original trick. It needs to have either an original presentation, original handling, original methods, original effect. You know, there's so much. It's not just here's a quick version of a triumph or something like that. It really has to go far out and be fantastic. So they really are the two main things we look for. Is it completely original, and is it completely worked in? And then, of course, the other things apply of what makes a good trick. Is it a strong trick? Is it one that audiences resonate with? There's so much to consider.
Well, and I think you bring up a really good point, because those are two very different leagues of what we call them tricks, call them effects, what have you. When you have the idea, hey, I came up with this today. What do you think? You're not going to be selling that right away. That's like saying, hey, I took a chunk out of this wood. Here's a chair. You know, you have to refine it. You have to make it good. I mean, you have to perform it once or twice. You know, and I can't tell you. I know there's some different marketplaces where you can just post your effects and sell them for free to cheap out there on the interwebs, and I can't tell you how many times I've gone through those and gone, wow, this person has never, ever, ever tried to do this for anybody, ever.
Yeah, that's my life, seeing those kind of tricks. And I don't mean to suggest that those ideas are automatically bad ideas, because they're not. And I understand why people have the passion. You know, I came up with an idea for a trick last week that, in my mind, is the best thing I've done. And you know, I would publish it now if I could, but I've only managed to perform it in 2 shows since then. So it's by no means ready yet, even though I'm so excited for everybody to see it. So I understand that when people come up with tricks, they're just so excited to let the world know about it. But just take my advice here. If you wait 5 years, if you perform that trick 1,000 times, which is a crazy amount of times to perform any trick, if you perform it that much and you want the recognition from your peers, then that's the way you do it. If you just want a trick that kind of sizzles away on one of these kind of community sites where you can upload and sell your tricks, you know, if you just want it to be hidden amongst that, then fine, then release it. But if you really want to make a stamp in magic, change magic, improve magic, and show how creative and smart you are and how good a performer you are, you have to perform it hundreds of times, hopefully thousands of times.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been wanting to release. I have a pet project I've been working on since I started with cards. I think it's 5 different moves with variations, and I've been wanting to release it forever. But there's this one naggy thing that I just can't work out, and it's my baby. I love this move so much, and I think I've even posted a video on our group space of me performing it, because it's just a quick little pop move. But it's just one of those things that 2 years, man, 2 years I've done that, and I just can't, I don't feel comfortable with trying to say, like, hey, you try this now, because sometimes I still screw it up, and I don't like that idea.
Yeah, and you know, with ideas like that, come back to them in a while. It doesn't have to be solved now. I just solved this week a trick that I've been working on for years and years and years, and I'm not even talking 2 or 3 years, I'm talking 10 years, and I managed to perform it for the first time the other day. And it just feels so great. So ideas don't have to be solved immediately. Ideas can take years to marinate.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to guys and be like, okay, so I pulled this out of the trunk. I know there's a duo, it's Brandon David, Chris Churchy, where Chris just goes into Brandon's stuff and goes, hey, you haven't worked on this in 2 years. Let's play with this for a while and see if there's something we can do out of that. I love that idea of just going, okay, well, I have my chest of stuff. Let's go back and let's play with some stuff.
Well, one of my close friends and a guy who I truly believe is one of the most creative and best magicians in the world is a guy called Rune Clan. He lives in Denmark, where he's a celebrity. He's a famous stand-up comedian and one of the most famous people in Denmark. So we know he's very successful. And what he does in his kitchen, he has a big box of props, and he just puts the props in there that he wants to work on. And whenever he's in the kitchen waiting for the kettle to boil or the saucepan to cook something, he just picks it up and plays with it. And I spent a few days in his house, and it was just the most creative time of my life, just because when you see somebody else doing that, it switches your mind onto it as well. So steal Room's idea and just fill a box full of tricks. I have exactly that, just over there, a box of items I pull out and tricks I want to work on.
Yeah, I got that right about there.
There we go. Look at that, the whole table.
It's a display table, so the top comes off and all of my stuff is underneath the glass. So I got on it though. But yeah, so it's my own little personal box. That's where all my decks of cards are right now and all that. But yeah, absolutely. That's why I like the jam sessions. That's why I like being able to sit. Even doing this like with you, this very way may give me other ideas and other thoughts on how to do some of the things I do. So that's something that's horribly overlooked. What was that?
I hope so. I hope by the end of this, everyone watching it's inspired somehow or some way to come up with a new piece.
Absolutely, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but we've had so many medalists on. For me, as a card worker, it's so refreshing to have a guy who's not just a card worker, but a really good card worker. Well, and you mentioned you had mentioned the master deal, master push-off. Excuse me, sorry. I was trying to look at both. You mentioned the master push-off. Can you tell me some more about that?
Yeah, well, the master push-off was born from this simple idea that when I was about 15 years old, I made a realization, and it's a pretty bold realization, and perhaps some people watching this won't agree, but the realization was simply this. I had, at that point in my life, not seen a single magician fool me with a double lift. There's always something. There's always kind of a pinky break, where you kind of have to do like a pinky pull down. It looks kind of hard and slow, or the magician would push over 2 cards under some kind of context, and then would turn it over. And it was just not enough for me. And I made the realization that the problem wasn't the turnover itself. The problem was the get ready. You're taking the most simple move in Magic, turning 2 cards over as one. You're splitting it into 2 separate moves, the get ready and then the turnover. So, and by the way, I'm not the first person ever to have that realization by any means. People like Ed Marlowe had push-offs way before me, Lewis Genson, many magicians. But the most famous one was in Expert Card Technique, and that was in 1943 or 46, and their technique was to take the deck, push down on top of the deck, and then push across. And their idea was that you should be able to push over 2 cards just by the amount of pressure that you apply down on the deck. Interestingly, in the book, they say that they're not quite sure why it works, and there's a reason for that. It doesn't really work consistently. Ed Marlowe said that it relied more on theory than technique. I don't really know what that means, but I think it means it doesn't work very often. So I spent a long time playing with it. I'd never seen a good magician do it. I'd never seen a bad magician do it. I'd never seen anyone do it, in fact. So I just wanted to find a solution to a push-off technique that, basically you can do a double turnover with no breaks or get-readies. In fact, let's try it. I'll do it now. Let's see if we can angle this down. Can you see that?
Yep.
Right. Okay. All right. So look, there's no breaks or get-readies or anything like that. And immediately I can push over 2 cards and turn them over as 1. Or I could come up here like this, and show you, it's a double lift. So there's nothing to see because all I'm doing is just turning over the 2 cards in what I think is a much more natural way than how most magicians do it. So that was basically the result of my youth. I spent a long time working on that technique and refining it to the point now where I feel comfortable and confident doing a double turnover. I feel like I'm not about to expose it or show people kind of that weird kind of get ready or anything like that. And just imagine the advantages of that in the context of an ambitious card routine, for example. No longer do you have to start spreading cards or anything like that. Let's come back down again. You can literally just show a signed card queen of clubs, put it in the middle of the deck, and no moves or anything, it comes back to the top. So to me, it was a big realization of what you could do with card magic. Then over the years, I started to really work on this move and apply it to other techniques and other ideas. So let's do this. This is a second deal. It uses exactly the same technique. A second deal like this, or a one-handed second deal. So that's using that same technique that I just did as a double turnover, but now it's a second deal. So let's do it here. This, leave the 3 of clubs face up. Now you can see, using the same technique I was using to turn 2 cards over, I can now do a second deal. So I just found that this was such a versatile technique for me, and I was so pleased to have it to work on, and it essentially shaped and defined how I do Magic. Sorry, that was probably a very long rant. So
no,
if you have
I'll be perfectly honest. I was sitting here playing with the one-handed double lift. I'd seen that technique before, and I've kind of played with it. It was a slightly different technique, I think, in order to get it. So I was just sitting there trying to honestly, I was sitting there trying to mimic you.
We should hug now.
What was that?
We should hug now after that. Let's hug. There we go.
Absolutely, man. We'll see. And like again, like I'm so card magic. It's always been my thing. We'll have to vamp on that a little bit afterwards. Because I absolutely agree with you. There was something about the double lift, something about a guy doing this number and then doing this. That bugs me.
Yeah.
That just absolutely kills me. And I just there are so many ways to get a good double lift, but I have to say by far that that was the cleanest, especially since you can use it for a second deal. That's just absolutely amazing.
Well, not only that, you can use it for a third deal, a fourth deal. Let me show you this.
I thought you could do a 10th deal at one point.
Yeah, I used to do up to a 10th deal, but the truth is it's not useful in any way, and it's a bit bold. You can see it on the trailer because the guys I was filming with really kind of pushed me into doing it, basically. It's not good. It's just to exhibit what you can do with a push-off. Let me show you a third deal, which is something I do use quite often. So what is that? That's the 7 of spades. Come down here. So there's no break, so get ready. So let's move all this out of the way. So there we go. That's the 7 of spades. Third position. Or let's try this. This is not a trick by any means. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 1 card here, 2 cards, 3 cards here, and then 4 cards here, and then of course 5 cards here. So you can kind of control how many cards you push off as well using the push off. So we could jam on this all day. It's a technique that I just love to work on.
Absolutely, and that was I just watched the trailer for that again this morning. So like I'd seen the 10th lift, I'd seen the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you do that so smoothly, just as smoothly live as you did on the video. So like, kudos, man, that was a great. That's great.
Well, I'm just pleased we didn't have to do 20 takes of me doing that here. That would have been embarrassing on a live thing.
Absolutely, man.
It's pretty consistent. That's what I really wanted to work on with the push-off, was to make it as consistent as possible. And now I just have complete confidence with it. I would never use another technique. I'm just so pleased that I have this in my arsenal, and it really defines how I do card magic as well. There's very, very few situations where I need to use a pinky count or a get ready or anything like that, just because of the joy of the master push-off. And I'm still finding things with it as well. Every day I find some weird new idea or technique with it. I could fill another 6 DVDs with things using the push-off. But I won't, because I realize I'm the only one that interested in it.
Well, you know, and some of you said the pinky count. I'll be perfectly honest. I do use a pinky count here and there, but only when I absolutely have to, because I'll tell you what, I practice that day and night, and it seems like it never gets easier, and it always seems like it takes an extra amount of time that you just really, I mean, again, it's a get ready. It's exactly what it is. It's a get ready, and it just, there's that time there that you're taking to do it, and you have to fill that gap, and that's not magic to me, I guess, in my head, and I can't stand that. I prefer magic happens, you know?
Well, there's certainly a place for a pinky count. To me, it's not a double lift, but there are places for it. Darwin Ortiz has some tricks that are really, you pretty much need to use a pinky count to make them effective, and it's the best, kind of most direct method. Jason Ledanier does. Tom Mulliker has some stuff with a thumb count, which I just saw live, and wow, yeah, he's so quick with a thumb count. So, you know, I don't mean to sit here and trash a pinky count by any means, and I realize there are people out there, and I include you in this, who can do an effective double lift using a pinky count. I'm not saying it's you know, the master push-off is the only way. I'm just saying it's my way, and it's the way I believe is the most direct. But we all need to find our own path in Magic. So there will be people out there doing pinky counts that possibly look better than the master push-off. Who knows?
No, and that is true. I have seen some masterful people use the pinky count, but again, you know, it's just one of those techniques that's really hard to get perfect and quick. Like you said, the thumb count. That some people can just take it down and go, okay, well that's 5 cards, and oh, okay, that's 5 cards. I was expecting that one, but you get the general idea.
Yeah, and you know, the more proficient you get in card magic in general, the more useful that kind of thing comes in. Useful, for example, riffle stacking. I do quite a bit of in-the-hand riffle stacking, which is quite a difficult technique, but thanks to me playing around with pinky counts, thumb counts, that kind of thing, it gets much easier. So, yeah, I'm not trashing these moves by any means. I'm just saying there's a right place for them.
Absolutely. Something. Because we had Peter Turner, actually we had Peter Turner and Morgan Stribler on both recently, and they both, something they said, and I love it, is it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a technique in mentalism, whether it's a way to psychological force, whether it's a pinky count, whether it's a card move, whether it's a coin sleight. These are all tools within our arsenal. You know, proper tool for the proper time for the proper audience.
Exactly right. The mentalists have got it right. It's all about just using the right thing at the right time.
Absolutely.
Normally with the mentalists stooges, but let's not talk about that.
Yeah, well, there's a decent amount of stooging too. But actually, we just got a message in from Bill Montana. He said, at Vanishing Inc, could you elaborate on the creator submission process? I know we kind of talked about what does fly and what doesn't, but what's the actual process in submitting a creation all the way to now it's on your site?
The process is simply send us an email, include a video. I want to see a real performance video, but I want it to be as quick as possible. You know, like I said, we get 6 to 10 a day, and if each video was 10 minutes long, it's a long time from our day spent, because the whole team watch the videos. It's not just one person that watches it. So collectively, that could be a 6-hour day. So so please make it as short as possible. That way we can kind of, you know, keep our attention, and we can just get you some feedback straight away. Because if we don't use the trick, if we don't think it fits us for some reason, then we do give you feedback as much as we can, just to let you know why it's not suitable for us. So, you know, that's a large chunk of our day is replying to creators. But don't get me wrong, we love it. So, so please feel free to write in at any point with videos of tricks. Just an effect is fine, unless for some reason the method is what defines the trick. So that, sorry, is my laptop making a loud noise? Are we good? You can hear me still?
That vibration was from my end. As questions come in, that was my phone vibrating. So that was.
Oh, don't worry. It's all good. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't my laptop overheating or something. So yeah, to get back on track, yeah, send us a video. Please don't just send us an effect description. That happens quite a lot. Somebody says, hey, here's my effect. What happens is I managed to jump over the Eiffel Tower. Okay, well, it's useful, but please send us as much as you can about it. So, yeah, we want to see a video of it almost always.
I want to see a video of it.
Yeah, I want to see a video of that too. That'll be one for Dynamo to do. So that's the first part. After that, we then, if it's a trick that we'd like to use, and let me just give you kind of some stats on this. I've told you about the 6 to 10 a day submissions. We might only take 1 or 2 submissions a year. So, you know, it's please don't be offended if we don't use your idea. It's just that we get so many, and that gives us the luxury of picking the absolute best. But what that means is it's definitely worth submitting your idea, because if you get picked, then you know it's a really solid idea and that you're amongst the very best that we've got. So the actual process, once we've taken it, is traditionally we have you, if it's a gimmick, trick, or whatever, we'll have you make up a gimmick, myself and Josh and George and Eric and some of our people on our team, and we play around with it, we perform it. Both Josh and myself are professional performing close-up magicians, so we have the luxury of doing shows, and we'll go out and actually perform your trick and get a feel as to whether or not it's suitable for us. And almost always that will lead to us giving you some feedback, some ideas, some thoughts, some potential improvements. So what you get is a real kind of full idea. You don't just get us saying, okay, good, let's release that trick. You get mine and Josh's full attention so that we can really make this the best release possible. Then I personally normally design the imagery, the cover, that kind of thing. We have Mark, who's our editor. He will edit up the DVD or film it if need be, and then we release it. Start to finish, that process can take anywhere between a month and 3 years. So it's it depends on how far along you are with the trick. But we just love working on the ideas and making sure they're the best they can be. So we don't just take the trick and release it straight away. We work hard with you to make the best trick possible.
And actually, in reference directly to Bill, anyway, I've had a mini video tour of some part of his workshop and office, and he does a lot of woodworking stuff, things like that. Just has all sorts of just neat gimmickry and whatnot everywhere. But it's all stuff that's pretty darn good.
That sounds great.
Yeah, Bill's a great guy, man. Okay, so we're about 42 minutes in. So,
that's too much. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. I'm loving this right now. Just to kind of break things up and kind of get away from the questions for a second, do you have an effect that you'd like to perform? And I know you had mentioned a giveaway that we were going to do.
Oh yeah, giveaway. I forgot all about that. So yeah, giveaway-wise, let's say this. So far, everyone who's kind of sent in a question, we will give them a download of my Gamble download, which is a Vanishing Inc download that has 3 gambling tricks. So yeah, we'll send them to every question that you read out. So we said originally it would be 5, but if you read out 10 questions, then we'll give away 10 downloads from the Vanishing Inc site. So yeah, just write in, and we will. I guess, what's the best way? Do you want to manage that, or would you like?
I will go through after the show, and I will make a list. The way I do these things is generally, if I go through and read it, I know that I've read it because I like the post. So I just have to go back through, count my likes, and send you a list.
Perfect. Well, that sounds great to me. So send me a list. Those people, you'll need to sign up to the Vanishing Inc website. But if you do that, then we will get you a free download as a little gift. So yeah, let's do it.
Perfect. All right. What was that?
Did you want to see a trick? Is that what you said?
I want to see an effect. I would love to see a trick.
All right, let's do it. Let's let me move this back, and let's tilt this. I'm going to turn my lower thirds off. I'm going to break tradition. Let me do that. How do I do it? There we go. This way you can see a little bit more at the table. So let's think. Let's do this. So I'm going to remove some cards. Let's remove, say, some black cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 black cards, and some red cards as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That'll do. That's the boring part of the trick out of the way. So 9 red cards, 9 black cards, and I'm going to alternate the cards. So reds on blacks, red, black, red, black, red, black, red, black, red, black, red, black, red, black. Done. So that took, how long would you say, Alex? Like 10 seconds to alternate the cards? I mean, it felt like an hour, but 10 seconds. It's probably right. So the idea is I'm going to try and change the order of the cards, but I will leave them face up. Time I really won't change the order. It sounds crazy, but watch this. So I'll hold them face up. Now they're in red, black, red, black, red. But watch this. just a click, they should actually now go into pairs. So you see here we have black, black. Let's try and bring it to the camera. Red, red, black, black, red, red, black, black, and red, red. So we've gone into pairs. We can try and go for more than pairs. Let's go for triples. So it's weird doing this sat down. I don't normally do this trick sat down, but there's 3 there. 1, 2, 3 blacks, 3 reds, 3 blacks, 3 red, and of course 3 blacks. You know, we'll alternate them again. You can watch this to make sure the reds go onto the blacks, blacks onto reds, reds onto blacks. That way we have red, black, in pairs, triplets this time, sorry. But this time I'll let you see when it happens. So watch this. Now we have all the cards in black. 1, 2, 3, 4. But we won't stop there. Look, we'll separate all of the black cards and all of the red cards. The weird thing is, while you're watching that, though, what I was really interested in doing is not just separating these reds and blacks, but this shuffled deck that you saw me shuffle. Normally an audience member would shuffle, but the deck that you saw me shuffle is also separated into blacks and reds, like this. I'm my own cameraman as well. Do my own tricks and camera. There we go. I'm back.
Great oil and water, man. That was awesome. You said normally the spectator shuffles?
Yeah, normally they shuffle, and that way I can tell you a bit about the secret. You know, you're as you're removing the cards, you're separating the reds and the blacks. So it's better that they shuffle because it feels a bit weird if you shuffle at that point. I think my chair's gone down. It looks like I'm going really. There we go. Let's go up. So yeah, it's a better effect when they shuffle it. I think pretty much every effect is better when somebody's involved in some way, but in an interesting way.
Well, it's always hard to perform any sort of magic or mentalism here on video. You get lag. Like if you go back, you're moving so fast sometimes that it was a little laggy like that.
Oh, really?
Here, only a couple of small spots, but for the important parts, everything was pretty well seen. I mean, everything was very well in clear view, so like that was really good.
Well, hopefully the moves.
What was that?
Hopefully the lag covered up the moves. That's what I like to think.
Yeah, right.
And if I flashed, that was a video issue as well. It's just blame that.
Oh, Bill just sent me a message. Enter me in the contest. Normally we do a raffle. We're not doing a raffle this time. Anybody who asks a question gets the prize. So, Bill, you have asked a question. You will already just have to sign up with Vanishing Inc. with an account, and we will get you that over. Okay, Bill, thank you.
Good one.
All right. So let's jump back into a couple of questions before we have to go. Something I had seen hanging around when I was checking out your site, like I said, I had done a little checking around on some new stuff that you had going out. That's how I knew about the Master Push-Off before you did it. The Multiple Revelation Project.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
I can, yeah. Multiple revelation is a routine that many magicians do. Doc Eason was someone who popularized it, where you have 10 or maybe 15 people all pick cards, and then you find every single card, hopefully in increasingly more interesting and impressive ways. I've been using this in my professional work ever since I've been working as a walk-around and close-up magician. Actually, even the first gig, I used this trick, and over the years I've developed what I think is a slightly unique idea and theory behind the multiple revelation, and that is that everything I do in my routine is improvised. So there's no predefined revelations that I use. I just go with the audience, go with the crowd. So, for example, if somebody happens to be sat a little bit forward like this, I may drop the card down their back so it falls on the bottom of their chair, and then I can do like a card under chair. Perhaps if someone's got a big collar like this, I might even slip it into the the collar so that I can get them to turn around and it's revealed. I can put it in their pocket. or they're just kind of crazy ones. I might do a top shot and drop the card like I did then, but the leg covered it. So basically, I just play with the audience. There we go. You caught it. Even better. So yeah, I just play with the audience, and I make a unique experience every single time I perform the trick. So I've never performed it the same. I have a bank of 80 revelations I use. Some I even make up on the spot just because they seem right for that audience. I do have a defined finish of my routine, so I'm always going to an end destination. And I think whenever you improvise, you should always have the end in sight so that you know exactly what you're doing. But that's what I do. So sometimes I'll force a card. If there's 10 people, I might force 1 or 2 cards because I have preset revelations. Maybe I've managed to hide one under the tablecloth, or I have a prediction, or many things like that. So the Multiple Revelation Project is all about those thoughts. It's done with a very close magician friend of mine, Rob James, who inspired me a lot in the creation of my routine and my theories. So the two of us are on the DVD together, and it's a lot of fun. It's a 2 DVD set, and basically we're just messing around on video and giving our thoughts on this routine. We filmed it in the most freezing cold barn over a week. Like, literally, I couldn't feel my hands. Big Blind Media produced it for me. And they're all about the kind of cool magic DVDs, which I'm not about. I'm not cool like that. So it was absolutely freezing cold, and now I know why I normally film these DVDs in studios. It's a lot warmer and more comfortable. So if you watch the DVD, you can see me doing this basically the whole time. It's freezing cold, trying to do sleight of hand with freezing cold knuckles.
Well, you bring up an excellent question, and this isn't one of the forums, but this is something I see asked a decent amount on the pages, which is it is now winter, and it is colder than sin in a lot of places. I believe you're over in the UK, so that means it's really cold there. I'm in Arizona, so it is 79 degrees outside, so it's not so cold here, but lots of people it is. What do you do to prep your hands for being able to card working cold?
Well, I'm lucky that I get to control my environment most of the time. So when somebody inquires about a gig, I will question to make sure that it's the right gig for me. So I'm very lucky in that situation. I realize not all performers are, but I have multiple streams of income. So I get my money from working for Vanishing Inc. and through gigs and through some other things I do as well. So that means I don't need to automatically say yes to every gig. So if I don't think the show is right for me, I won't take it. So often if that's outside in the winter, then I won't do it. So I tend not to do shows where it's, for example, a line of people outside a shop or outside of an event. That's not really for me. I'm not really suitable for that. There are other magicians who are much better at that kind of thing. So basically I just control my environment is the answer. And if I'm out and a friend wants to see a trick and it's cold, I won't do the trick. I'll just wait until I can do something better.
Right. And my answer to card workers has just been kind of like, do something else. You don't have to do a card trick. Learn things that aren't card tricks. I eat fire. If I'm going to be outside and it's cold, I'm going to eat fire. Why? Because it's warm and it requires almost little to no dexterity.
Well, there we go. Yeah, everyone will find their own solution to that kind of thing, and mine is to avoid it. But yeah, eating fire is also nice and warm. Or do that fire from palms trick.
Yeah, fire from wall. If you get a fire from wallet, there you go. There's your card revelation. It just appeared. Let's see here. How about, I know you do the genie stuff. Teach a trick stuff on genie. Do you have a trick you'd like to teach us today?
Sure. I always can teach you a trick. All right, let's think what we can do. Let's think about the best way to show a trick here. Okay. So this is a really quick trick. It's I'm going to teach it just because it's a quick thing to learn. So it's hardly a full routine, but it's one of those things that's worth playing around with. It's a trick using the 7 of clubs. If you just rub it like this, it should hopefully stick to my hand. It's the static electricity. If you rub even more, actually, it will change to a totally different card. In this case, to 9 of spades. So that could be a selection or whatever. Thank you. You're clapping. That's very nice of you. Thank you.
I hadn't thought of that. I mean, I kind of caught what went on. I just hadn't quite thought to use something quite like that before. That's brilliant.
Thank you. It's very simple. All it is a palm. So you'll do a double lift. We've already discussed my thoughts on the double lift. In my case, I'm not doing a get ready or anything like that. And then you'll turn the 2 cards over. So we'll get to here, turn 2 cards over here. And by the way, it's better to do this with a selection than it is just with random cards, but I wanted to get to the meat of it. So we have a double card here. That's a terrible change, the 3 to the 4. So we'll do that, the 5 and the 4. So when you turn the double over, you leave it extended like this, and you're going to pull back the top card, exposing the second one. That allows you to palm the card below it. So it's a second from top palm. And if you pull your hand back like this, you'll see that the card that they saw, in this case the 4 of spades, is actually stuck between your fingers and the palmed card. So that's how you do the thing like this. You can play around with how long you leave it there for, and make sure you don't flash. There's a weak point here. Hopefully I didn't flash when I did it. You want to keep your thumb on view. A lot of people say you shouldn't do this when you're palming a card, but this is a different kind of situation here because you don't want it to look like you're holding onto the cards. So you can keep the card in view, do this. Now all you do is you pull your hand away, the palmed card is here, and you just do like a Bellini style slap change, and you rub, and the card is changed, and then you're just left to turn the double back over. So a nice simple idea, but it's a fun thing. I'll show you this. This just popped into my head. This isn't something I'll teach for now, but we'll use the 5 of diamonds. Watch carefully. It should change like this to the 7 of diamonds. Another rubbish change because it's 5 to let's get a better situation. Here we go. So we'll take the jack of diamonds in this case. Watch carefully. Hopefully it should change like that. Hopefully the lag didn't kind of pick up on that too much, but
it was great.
Yeah. A few various tricks and ideas.
Now I've seen you do that to disappear cards before, but I hadn't seen you do it to change. But changing makes perfect sense.
Yeah, the change is where it started. I do it as a card vanish as part of a longer routine that I do. Yeah, in my that routine, the 4 jacks vanish one by one. As a vanish, it pretty much looks the same. Let's try it here. So you do your fan, and then like this, it changes. It's quite hard to see on camera because you don't really get the depth of how far the fan is in front of the cards. But yeah, there we go. So like this, it vanishes.
I'm gonna be playing with that later.
Please do. Good.
Absolutely. I do. There's one that I had done for a while. I had seen done. I don't have a watch on me, but it was somewhat similar, where you take and have your card here. You're gonna take and turn your wrist and fan, and when you do, the card comes back and it changes. It's really it's the same. I think it's the same sort of principle, just done in the hand. So that's. I don't wear watches. I don't like wearing wrist stuff. I only wear a ring when I'm doing ring magic. So for me, that's a great alternative to something I already did. That's a great idea.
Well, that is, yeah, the one you're talking about is Bernard Billis's move, Watch My Watch, which is the first name for a move ever. But yeah, that's that. It's a slightly different method. But yeah, Bernard Billis has a great move. Yeah, I no longer wear a watch because I have an iPhone, so I just need to press a button and I have to tell the time. So we'll see when the Apple Watch comes out, but maybe I'll get one of those.
Right. Let's see here. I just had another question pop up. There we go. Scott Anderson writes in, do you recommend taking stage classes or improv type classes to improve on your audience management?
I recommend taking any class in any subject, in anything, doing anything, basically, purely because the more you know, the more you learn. It will shape you as a magician. So if you want to take a class about being a mechanic, do it. Just learn as much as you can. But as far as a sensible answer to that question, yes, I do. But I also recommend constantly questioning how it applies to magic. So I agree that being on stage as much as you can will definitely help you as a performer. I used to be a drama student. That was one of the classes I took when I was at school, and not everything I learned in drama would really apply to magic, because I wasn't a character act as such, and often what we learn is characterization in drama. So the answer is yes, but I think you need to constantly evaluate what you're learning and how that applies to magic. And I say I'm not a character actor, but one thing I did learn in drama is this whole thing of creating a backstory for any character. So I have a backstory as me as a performer, and some of the skills I had. How did I get them? How did I get into magic? That kind of thing. Because you have to have a good answer to those questions. So the short answer is yes. Learn anything about whatever you can. Nowadays, I read just as many non-magic books as I do magic books. Because there's always something you can take and apply to magic.
I think that's probably one of the strongest messages my father ever gave me. Bad. Like I can hear myself.
You say that again?
I keep on hearing myself.
Oh, yeah, you cut out from me as well, so I didn't quite hear what you said, but I think what you said, it's, some kind of really strong advice is to basically take...
every time something happens to your mic.
Oh, let's put some headphones in, maybe that'll help.
Okay.
Here we go. How about now?
That is so much better. I was talking to myself, and every time I tried to start talking, it just stopped me in my tracks because it was 2 seconds delayed. What I was trying to say was my father always taught me that knowledge was power. And your people may be able to take your freedom, your body, anything away from you, but one thing somebody can never take away from you is what's up in here. That's always something that you'll have. So being able to pull knowledge from anywhere you can, and really everywhere you can, from every experience you have, is really important. Always be ready to learn. Beyond that, as just kind of my own answer to Scott, is acting lessons are great. I've never taken an acting lesson. I've witnessed a lot of theater, but I prefer to talk to people. I prefer to go out and find people. One of the best pieces of advice I've been ever given for public speaking was every time you meet somebody, have a conversation. Not like a big conversation, and I wouldn't say necessarily every single time, but when you walk into the gas station, petrol station, and the guy goes, hello, you say, hi, how are you? They'll be taken aback, but they'll have a conversation. There's a connection there. And if you really want to learn how to connect with, say, an audience, learn how to connect with people first.
I agree with that. I think some of the best magicians are people. Is that the right phrase? People, but I guess it is. But yeah, and since I was on the subject of non-magic books, maybe I should recommend some that I've been reading recently that you could apply. And to do that, I'm going to have to walk over to my bookshelf and will remind me. Let's see. Here we go. Here's a great book here. Steal Like an Artist. Which, there's a follow-up to this as well. This is by Austin Kleon. Follow-up is called Show Your Work. Very much recommend both of those books. Let's take three more we'll do. Rework, which is by the guys behind 37 Signals, which is an IT company. It's all about kind of working from home and rethinking the way you work. Think Like a Freak is another very popular book by the guys who wrote Freakonomics. Highly recommend that. And here's one that's kind of less well-known, because some of those are pretty big sellers, especially to people in the IT world. This is called The Idea Book. Highly recommend you. I don't think it's available on Amazon. I think you can only buy it from the author direct, who lives in Sweden. But it's a really interesting book about creativity. So there's just a few different books I'd recommend reading.
Absolutely. That's perfect. I'm gonna go be. I normally take notes, but I'm gonna be going back and just taking a whole lot of notes after we finish this. Anyway, I'm always interested in literature that is non-magic related, because you find that a lot of the magic books that you read that aren't history based. A lot of the magic books that you read are a lot of the same things over and over, said slightly different ways. And some people need that because people all learn differently. You have to have something explained to you in the way that it makes sense to you. That's fine. But finding inspiration outside of what everybody else is what's going to set you apart from everybody else.
Well, in his book, Darren Brown says that the best magician has one foot firmly planted in magic and another one firmly planted in another area of interest. And I think that is really true. I've just finished writing a book by a magician called Thomas Blomberg, who is not a well-known magician, but he's one of the few people who I know that I could 100% say with confidence that I think he's a genius. And in fact, probably the only person I could say that about. And he has feet firmly planted in mathematics and computer imagery, and he's applied that to all of his magic. So I think the best magicians are the ones who allow their life outside of magic to shape what they do. And in my case, I used to work in IT. I used to be a computer programmer for about 8 years. And if you see my act now compared to what it was 4 or 5 years ago, there's a lot more reference to that, and the tricks are inspired a lot more by that, because I think that makes an interesting character, that makes more texture. The audience don't want to know you just as Magic Boy. I mean, how many of us have been called Magic Boy in our life? And that may be because that's what they perceive as all we have. So I have not been called that for many years, or I guess Magic Man now that I'm 30, because I think it's quite clear in my performances that there's more to me than just magic, and what I'm choosing to do is share different parts of my life. And my best friend Josh J, if you see his show, it's a biographical show. We get to learn about him and his inspirations outside of magic. So to take this tangent back full circle, I think the more you learn and the more you get interested in outside of magic, the more it can really shape what you do.
Absolutely. I can't remember who I was talking to recently, but they had said something really similar, in that you find that there's a lot of guys who had the grandfather or the uncle who's like, hey, here's a magic kit, let me show you a little bit of this, and that's how they got their start. Then there's the guys who lived a life. Like myself, I lived 24 years before I ever touched my first deck of cards for a magic trick. And then all of a sudden, I loved it. And it's bringing those outside experiences, that entire life that you can now bring into your performance space and talk to people about. Something that we've talked about a lot with the mentalists is it's when you're just talking to people, they're there for you, the performer, not the tricks. The tricks actually aren't that important. They are special effects to convey an idea. Now, that's not to say that they're not technically difficult. That's not to say that they aren't a main part of the show. But if you can't have that real conversation, and that's something that as you're incorporating, say, your computer programming, or me, I start talking about maybe dirt biking. That's real to me. And I think it comes across as real to the audience as well.
I agree. I totally agree with that. So I just had an idea of something that might be fun. Maybe we don't have time for this, but I was just flicking through before we were on air the Believe in Magic Place questions that people were asking just in general on the forums, and I thought I'd give you like a quick 1-second answer to some of those if that's of interest.
Absolutely.
Let's do that. Let's quickly go back on and scroll down. That's not a question. Does anyone here know of good resources to learn flourishes? No, I'm the wrong person to ask. Let's see. This is
That's all. I'm helping him on
that. Don't know. Every magician's taught by their grandfather, David Copperfield Dynamo. Yeah, exactly. Now, there's a thing that we all need, like I was saying, a different backstory. I agree with that. The grandfather one is done and dusted, I think, unless it really comes from the heart or you have a new direction. If you're at an event and you're not the magician, and there isn't one, do you use the opportunity to practice a little, or do you leave the magic out as it's not a paying gig? That depends, I think, where you stand in magic and how long you've been doing it for. I would very, very, very rarely do magic at an event events that I'm not being paid or booked for. Often it's not appropriate. Sometimes I might be at a friend's wedding. In the UK, we do a lot more weddings. In fact, I don't think it's really a market in the US. And a friend might try and convince me to do some magic at the wedding for them. And that's only if the bride and groom have requested. I will do that, but pretty much never do I do magic outside of a paying event, because I'd rather people see me in the environment that magic is best suited to. Let's do one or two more. Let's see. I have a case. I'm starting to organise my stage stuff, and what do you suggest for children's party and magic close-up? I think, yeah, it's always good to organise your magic in a case. What's the best newspaper to tear and restore? I really like Andrew Main's version. I think it's great. I think it's called Tear Down. But here's a recommendation. Check out Gene Anderson's talk. He does a whole talk about the history of the newspaper tear, and that will give you a whole new perspective of all the different styles. So there we go. That's just a few random answers to random questions. Hopefully that's of some interest.
No, absolutely. I'm gonna go back. And actually post about this, that you gave some good answers. 2 questions within the forum, and see if we can't get some people come back and actually look and see the answers for themselves. Because I like the history of the torn and restored. That's a great that's a great resource to have if that's what you're looking for, the best torn and restored, for instance. So no, that was perfect. I haven't had anybody do that. That brings up lots of ideas for me. I think I'll start bringing some of the questions from the forum over too. That was.
Let me turn it into a slight plug, actually, which is the Gene Anderson newspaper tear thing. I organise a convention through Vanishing Inc. Called Magi Fest, which is in Columbus, Ohio, every January. Gene Anderson will be doing that talk at the event, as well as loads of other great performers. So I've managed to turn that into a plug. There we go. I'm professional.
Woohoo! Yeah, I've actually been looking to go to my first. I haven't been to a convention yet. I really would like to. I haven't met any of the guys, and that's you said in Ohio?
Yes, it's in Ohio. It's the last weekend of January. We organise 3 conventions. We do the Session in the UK, which is now sold out. That's in second week of January. And there's Magi Fest, which kind of overlaps the last weekend in January and the first weekend of February. And then there's the Genie Convention in Orlando, which is in October. So yeah, we're pretty busy with conventions. So check them out if you want to come to one.
Absolutely. Actually, I was really interested in the one in Ohio until you said last weekend of January. I'm going on my honeymoon mid-January. So
well, congratulations. It's much more fun than a magic convention, trust me.
Actually, funny enough, I was invited to a small gathering up north. I guess Bob Cassidy and a few other guys are getting together up in Seattle around the 15th. So that's probably why where I'll be that day.
Great.
Yeah, right. But besides that, you said October in Orlando?
Yes, that's the Genie Convention, which Josh and myself co-organize with Richard Kaufman, and that's set to be a really cool convention. We're trying to do some different things there. So most of the lecturers will give lectures that they've never done before. They'll be on particular subjects. So, for example, Danny Ortiz is going to give us a lecture on Hofzinser's magic. So it's going to be an interesting new style and approach to conventions. Hey, I know we have to go soon, but there's one last question coming that I'd love to answer. I just saw it on the Facebook page. Does doing the same routines again and again get boring to you? What do you do to overcome it? And I do some of the same routines over and over again. In fact, one routine, my opening routine, I've been doing since I was 12 years old. And at a gig, at a close-up gig, I could do that 20 times. And how does it not get boring? It's simply this, that every time I do it, it's different. Because magic in that kind of environment should be about the audience just as much as it is about you. So as long as the audience is different, the trick is different to me. I have an absolute fear, which is that the audience are feeling like they're seeing exactly the same trick, word for word, move for move, than the last group saw. So that's my challenge, to keep it real, to keep it live and in the moment. So every time I do that trick, it will be different in some way. And the more you do a trick, that trick's probably been done, I don't know, 3, 4, 10,000 times. I wouldn't even like to guess. The real challenge is to make it different. But you could just change one tiny thing, literally one beat, one sentence, or sometimes I'll change the whole method just for fun. As long as you change something, you'll stay alive, and that's the key thing. Remember, it's all about the audience, not about how clever you are doing the trick.
Absolutely agree, and I think that's a really good note to end things on. We are at, let's see here, hour 1 and 15 minutes. So we've done really good. We've already gone a little bit over our time.
Sorry, that's my fault.
What's that?
That's my fault. I'm very sorry.
Oh, no, not at all. Many times these things can go an hour and a half, 2 hours. We do schedule for an hour, but all the same, no big deal. I loved the conversation. If nobody else did, I did. This was really, really fun. I would like to real fast thank Laura Isley for putting these all together, doing all the booking and whatnot. My partner. Without her, these things wouldn't be possible. I'd like to thank you, Andy. Thank you so much for coming and spending time with us. I know you've just got tons of stuff to do with reviews and giving the reviewing products, getting products out, and really working on all of your stuff. So thank you so much for taking an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes out of your day for us.
Oh, it's been great. I've really enjoyed it, yeah, I hope people can take something from it. I don't know what it is, but hopefully they do. And I'm always around. You can always email me or Facebook message me, or whether it's about releasing a trick or including it in Genie, or just something in general. Just give me a shout. I'm always around on email. Always happy to help, or Twitter or Facebook.
Absolutely. I mean, at least for me, I have a couple of new things I'll be playing with now because of this. So I think there's tons of things to be able to take away from this talk. That being said, our next event, the only other scheduled event that we have going on right now goes on tomorrow. That's the Morgan Strebler Mass Metal Bend. So for those of you watching, go ahead and tomorrow, and I believe it's 1 p.m. Eastern time, so that would be Saturday the 29th. We're going to have a mass spoon bend, so bring your cutlery that you'd like to see get a little lopsided. Besides that, just one more thank you to everybody watching. I love to thank the viewers, love to thank Andy, Laura, everybody on the team, and I believe that this is going to be one last wave to Andy before we stop the broadcast.
I'm waving back. Thank you very much, everybody. It's been cool hanging out.
All right, so we'll see you guys later. If you want to stay on the line, we'll talk for a second, all right?